everybody. It's Tony George along with my right-hand man, Griffin Murphy. Welcome back to Doc's Gridiron Six-Pack. 67.5% on the year. You can't find it for free, and I don't know if you can find it if you pay for it, Griffin. In terms of premiums, especially my plays last weekend, my premium plays, but 5-1 on the show last week. A hiccup with the premiums, which I will straighten out this upcoming weekend, and a big weekend on deck. How you doing, buddy? I've recovered from my trip from Scottsdale.
I'm living the dream, man. I'm feeling good as I had a couple days to recover, but we are back in action. We are football fired, ready to go, Tony.
Yeah, we are, and we welcome college basketball this week over at Doc Sports. Be sure and smash the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. I've got a small conference college basketball guy that helps me, and we've got a video up about a lot of the futures on the college basketball, all kinds of stuff over at the website in terms of college basketball and futures and NBA and NHL and everything else is going on in the world of sports, and we'll give you a free $60. If you've never been a member at Docs, we'll park it in your account. You can see the link up there on the top of the screen, so be sure and get over there and get hooked up this weekend. And we're going to get right to the free picks here and see if we can keep this gravy train rolling. And Griffin sent me this one here. Little Big Ten action. Matter of fact, we're going to do a couple out of the Big Ten for Griff today, because there is another game in the Big Ten besides this one we're going to talk about in a minute that everybody's interested in. But Indiana travels to Illinois here on Saturday. Illinois is laying 6.5 at home. The total is 43.5. And of course, Indiana, we heard a lot about their coach being on the hot seat. And especially mid-season, you know, this is a guy that had Penix, Washington's quarterback, on this team here about 3 years ago, and off a big win against Wisconsin. And actually, they played the Hoosiers played Penn State pretty tough a couple of weeks ago, and Illinois off a 1-point win against Nittany. Of course, Illinois fallen from what they had last year. They lost a lot last year to the draft. They had a heck of a defense and the ex-quarterback from Syracuse, DeVito, was playing for him last year, a quarterback, and so they're kind of in a little bit. I think both these teams are in a little bit of a transition/rebuilding period. Griff, your thoughts on this one here on Saturday?
Yeah, Tony, I gotta say, man, this Indiana team, they've really taken some strides forward in these previous few weeks. They've really played good, especially coming off that outright victory against Wisconsin. Tom Allen, head coach, back in 2020, yes, he was named Big Ten Coach of the Year. But right now with this team, they are 3-6 on the season. All three of their road losses, you've got to think about this. So they dealt with Maryland, they dealt with Michigan, and they dealt with Penn State. Two of those three teams are ranked top 10 in the country. Doesn't get much harder than that right now. And I've got to say, this offense has really picked it up, and that's due to Brendan Sorsby. He's been absolutely outstanding in the pocket as of recent weeks, which has really opened up this offense for this team. They've got Lucas in the backfield, and he's really spreading it out offensively on that run game. But Sorsby's kind of really changed the entire dynamic of this entire Indiana team by the way they're playing. And then you roll over to Illinois right now, and obviously you've got Brett Bielema at that head coaching spot. He coached in the SEC with Arkansas. He's been with this Wisconsin and Illinois. He's seen it all, SEC from Big Ten. He's been there. But you know what? I've got to say, Illinois has stepped it up in recent, but that is due to the fact that Luke Altmaier has finally taken over and taken charge at that quarterback spot and has taken strides forward. Now, as of right now, yesterday, he was permitted as he was not going to be playing this week. And it's undisclosed information. Now he's probable going into this game. He is the reason that this Illinois team has kind of picked it up. I will say the biggest breakdown for this team was their defensive secondary, as Tony mentioned earlier. That was due to the fact that they did lose at that cornerback spot, Witherspoon, last season due to an NFL legitimate draft pick. So it takes a team a little bit of time to get their charisma rolling, and that secondary with Illinois has finally seemed to do so. But because all of the questionable situationist matchup with Altmaier maybe starting, that would put John Paddock at that quarterback spot. There's still too many ifs and ands with this Illinois team. And the way that this Indiana team is really playing and moving, I'm taking Indiana and the points. So my play going into this matchup, Indiana on the road with the points. That is my play. But switching gears over to the Mountain West Conference, Tony, we've gotten, this was an interesting one. You sent me this one over. Fresno State at San Jose State. San Jose State is getting 1.5 points. The total is 55.5. This game will kick off Saturday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on CBS Sports Network. Fresno State rolling in 8-1 right now. They took last year's contest against San Jose State in a 17-10 victory. Right now, San Jose State is 2-2 at home, although they have won 3 straight games. Fresno has also won 3 straight games. Tony, how does San Jose State, this looks kind of trappish to me. How does San Jose State take this game outright and beat this really rolling Fresno State team, 8-1 right now, playing outstanding football? Tony?
Yeah, take the trappish line out of it and take a look at the total here in this ball game. It's kind of the way I'm looking. I think it's a coin flip ball game. Now, Fresno State's only loss was a trip to Laramie, Wyoming. Right. And, of course, Laramie, Craig Bowl is a great coach up there. Used to be defensive coordinator at Nebraska under Frank Solich. That's how far he goes back. Solich was still coaching at Nebraska. But this guy is a rock-solid head coach. And Wyoming, of course, Wyoming also knocked off Texas Tech in there. And in Laramie, 6,200 feet elevation up in Laramie in the middle of nowhere where the men are men and the sheep are nervous. And Fresno State had a bad night. They could not run the football. That I think Wyoming held them to under 40 yards on the ground, made them totally one-dimensional. And windy night, as I remember, not good for throwing the football. So that's their loss. Now, San Jose State, on the other coin, had a brutal non-conference schedule. They were playing some of the Pac-12's best teams. They gave a couple of guys some ball games in there, but they got a great quarterback, San Jose State. But if you take a look, and it's kind of like college basketball or Major League Baseball or even the NBA to me, I tend at this point in time in the season, Griff, to not look at season-long stats. I tend to look at most recent. And you just alluded to most recent in your previous pick, both with Illinois and Indiana. Where are they at right here, right now? Not where they were at week 1 against Tallahassee JUCO or, Oregon State, in San Jose State's case. And the last 3 games, these two guys have exploded on offense. Last 3 games for San Jose State, 129 points. That's 43 points per game. Fresno State, 105. That's 36 points per game offensively. The total in this game is 55.5. And Fresno State, if you look at the two teams defensively, San Jose State's played a lot better the last 3, and that they're at home catching points. And in that stretch where Fresno State's racked up 36 a game, they've also allowed 28 a game. And statistically, if you look at these two teams, they're a coin flip. Offensively in yards gained, defensively in yards allowed, kind of yards per play, kind of yards per on offense, yards per play on defense. Last year, 17-10 ball game. I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think this one's going to be go for broke shootout. Both teams have a lot on the line. Fresno State's looking for a, conference championship. I like the over 55.5 in this one. Late night bailout on CBS Sports
Oh,
Network,
yeah.
your late game out there. We're avoiding Hawaii, so we're okay. We're not that big of a degenerate. We're staying away from the Hawaii game for the bailout. But I put a little bit on the over here. It's a free play. We're not betting, we're not selling all grandma's treasury bonds here, but I think there'll be a higher scoring game than last year. And it's interesting because we're going to buck a trend here, Griff, because the last 4 have went under. We're going to switch gears back to the Big Ten. And I want Jim Harbaugh and his staff have taken some time out from stealing signs to get ready for a game on the road at Penn State. What a debacle going on at Michigan right now. Got to be some off-field distractions, I would think. Everybody formulates an opinion on something like that, but at the end of the day, Michigan hadn't played anybody all year. And yet they're sitting, third in the BCS rankings that are out, that came out yesterday. I don't tend to watch, white noise garbage on ESPN. It's all politics. I mean, it's an invitational. There's probably 12 teams that could be invited to that this year. And there'd be almost every one of the matchups would be -3. There's that many good teams in college football this year. But Penn State's at home catching 5.5, total 44.5. I think Penn State might be a little more battle tested, but this here is going to tell us a lot, not only about the Big Ten, Griff, but the national title picture, the BCS invitational, for lack of a better term. And this is a real interesting game. It's going to be probably the highest rated game on television this weekend. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is another one, Tony. Every single week I feel like we're breaking down that game of the week, game of the year. I mean, this is just that. We've got Michigan rolling in right now, 9-0 undefeated. But you said it yourself, Tony. They have not dealt with anybody this season. Every single game that Michigan has played thus far this season, they have been a double-digit spread. The lowest amount of points that they have laid against a team all season long is against Tony's beloved Nebraska Cornhuskers. And they laid 17.5 points against them.
You gotta throw me under the bus. You gotta bring my Huskers into this.
I'm sorry, even going deeper with this right now.
That was my top play last week.
Obviously, me and Tony got together last week and we hung out and I got to learn a little bit about Tony. This was something I did not know. And in the comments section, please dial in on this. Played for Nebraska. Tony, you were a safety, were you not? This was some new info.
Well, I was on the roster momentarily.
Sure. Tony played for Nebraska
momentarily. Division II boy, actually, down in Northwest Missouri. But boy, I tell you, speaking of Huskers, they hurt me last week against Michigan State.
No.
But, it's easy to beat Nebraska like a redheaded stepchild when you know what all the plays are. As a matter of fact, it's easy to beat everybody when you know what they're calling for plays. Now, we're going to have some Michigan fans that are ticked off.
Anyways, I wanted to throw that at you guys. I learned that about Tony. I had no idea. Awesome information. But anyways, as I mentioned, every single game thus far this season, they've laid double digits on the spread. This is the first game all season. This Michigan team has yet to be put to the test at all this season. And this is really where it's going to come down to. Obviously, we know Harbaugh. He's been here. He's won big title matchups. He's made himself into the college football playoff semifinals twice. I mean, the guy's done it all as a head coach for this team. Yes, they're 9-0. But Penn State right now, 8-1. Only loss is on the road against a very, very good Ohio State team. Now, this is going to come down to Penn State is 5-0 at home right now. How is Drew Allar going to handle the pressure at home? They've already been put to the test, and we've got to say, Penn State has, in my opinion, they have the best defense in all of football. They've got first-round draft picks in the secondary. They've got first-round draft picks on that defensive line. And we already know what they can do on that run game with Singleton and Allen. I mean, they can move the ball. So this is going to be a true test not only for Penn State, but bigger for Michigan. This is an implication game. And I think all the pressure thrives on Michigan in this matchup. And I am rolling with Penn State in this game with the points. And I would not be surprised if Penn State takes this game outright. Yes, you heard it here first. I'm calling it right now. That is not my pick, you guys, but I am grabbing the points with Penn State. Flipping over, though, we are rolling to the NFL in Germany. We've got Indianapolis laying 1.5 against the Patriots. The total is 43.5. This game will kick off on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Neutral site, obviously, in Frankfurt, Germany. You can watch this game on the NFL Network. New England is currently the worst football team in all of football when it comes to playing against the spread. Indianapolis playing tighter football as of late, I will say, currently coming off a 27-13 victory over Carolina last week. And Indianapolis will be going into a bye following this matchup. So how do they play this game, especially considering the fact Mac Jones having a brutal season, 10 touchdowns, 9 picks, unimpressed whatsoever with this New England Patriots team. Tony, what are your thoughts rolling into this game in Germany?
Well, I never thought that 9 games into a season, any season in my lifetime, in my career, I would say that Bill Belichick might be coaching for his job. I mean, that's where we're at, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe he was all about Tom Brady because Brady left. He goes and wins the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay against my beloved Chiefs, and Belichick falls off the truck. And they haven't been able to do anything. Matt Jones is not the guy. But on the other hand, I'm not overly impressed with the Colts either laying points here. But let's talk about totals. Since week 3 of the NFL season, unders in the NFL are 65% against the spread. Mm-hmm. Primetime games. Last 4 weeks, we always talk about primetime games, primetime dogs. 9-1 to the under. That's 90%. Even though I went to school at Nebraska and I got me some real good smarts, I'm telling you, 9-1 is 90% last I checked. Last week in the NFL, 10-3 to the under against the spread. International games, including Kansas City and Miami last week. 4-0 to the under. Make it 5-0. Give me the under in this game. Who's going to score? The only thing that New England can do, because their offense sucks so bad, is play good defense. They're going to play to that strength, you know? And on the other side of the coin, I'm not so sure what they could do offensively. They can't stretch the field vertically. They don't have a Gronk-type tight end they can go to. They can't even complete simple drag routes. And the accuracy of Matt Jones, as you alluded to, 10 touchdowns, 9 picks. You want to count on him to play from behind? Even if you're trying to go to a 2-minute offense, he's not going to be successful doing it, putting up points late. Give me the under 43.5 in this one. Last week, C.J. Stroud proved many people who I wasn't one of them. There still was some doubters. There's still a lot of doubters about Bryce Young, who was taken in front of him. There's no doubt about C.J. Stroud. He can be an NFL quarterback, and his Houston Texans are on the road at a red-hot Cincinnati football team. Cincinnati has just been, I mean, they've been on it. So ever since they beat the Niners, they've been on it. But maybe it's, and I don't know who you're taking here. We don't script this. We don't talk about it ahead of time. Yeah, they're on a 4-0 run there, but, you know, two of those wins were against Arizona and Buffalo. And I've been telling you on this show all year long, Buffalo's no good. Mm-hmm. And Seattle, we found out they were a paper tiger last week. I found out the hard way. They never even got off the bus. Arizona, we know what they got. Absolutely nothing. You know, 0. But that was a team that got held to 58 yards of offense last week. That's like a high school soap scrimmage against the B team. So, you know, how really good is Cincy? and Houston coming in here full of confidence, getting behind their quarterback. I think maybe Griffin, you can expound on this because Cincinnati's a 6.5-point favorite, and total in this thing's 48. So they're expecting Houston to do something offensively. Despite Houston's record, I got to tell you, their head coach has quietly done one of the better head coaching jobs in the NFL this year, because even if they lose, they're contending in every game. They give people a ball game. They're just not walking in the door and getting blown out of the stadium. And remember, to open up the season, everybody's talking about how good the Ravens are. They gave the Ravens a ball game for 3.5 quarters, first game of the season on the road. What do you think here?
Tony, I will say I love that you opened up about DeMeco Ryans. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal head coach, All-American linebacker at Alabama. I mean, this guy brings it all. But what I'm really interested in this matchup and what I've really keyed out is Cincinnati head coach Zach Taylor. How does he approach this game, considering the fact that Cincinnati, right after this game on Sunday, has a Thursday night game against Baltimore in Baltimore? So how do you prepare for this matchup? Do you lay it all out on the field against Houston, or do you kind of play it a little bit safer? So the way I'm looking at this game, we know Cincinnati is absolutely rolling, and Burrow has finally started lighting it up. They have won 4 straight games, and they are doing so offensively. Their weakest trait is on the defensive side, although they are kind of starting to hold that together. They're getting beat up on the secondary, but they are finally starting to come together as a team. And then, as we mentioned, we look at this Houston Texans team. We've got C.J. Stroud coming off a rookie record, passing for 5 touchdowns and 470 yards, 0 interceptions. This kid's already got 14 touchdowns on the season and 1 pick, passing for over 2,200 yards. The biggest issue right now, and it was exposed last week, Dameon Pierce is questionable going into this game. Singletary was in the backfield. He was brutal last week, covering, I think he was averaging just 2 yards per carry. And the other huge effect to look at in this game for Houston is their secondary got completely blown up last week due to injuries. And those injuries are carrying over into this week against Cincinnati. So if I was to look at this game and say, hey, the Bengals play next Sunday. They don't play Thursday. And then we have a full, healthy Houston team. Well, my decision would be a little bit different. But because of the fact that the way Joe Burrow is lighting it up offensively and the way that this secondary is beat up with Houston right now, I love the under in this game. I think Cincinnati is going to come out hot, and I think they are going to get themselves a comfortable lead, which is going to force Houston to start airing the ball out with extremely accurate, dynamic C.J. Stroud. Do I think they're going to be able to put a lot of points up? Maybe, but I think Cincinnati is really going to dial it down come second half, and I think that's where the clock control is going to come into this game, and that is why I am rolling with the under 48.5 in this matchup. But rolling over to our last NFL game, last but definitely not least, we've got Cleveland rolling into Baltimore. Baltimore is currently laying 6 points in this matchup. The total is 37.5. This game will kick off Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can tune into this matchup on Fox. Ravens heating up. They've won 4 straight games, just annihilated Seattle in a 37-3 victory. But how for real is this Baltimore team? I can't pick up their tempo. It seems like they kind of play everybody the way they need to play them, whether it's a good, talented squad or a squad that they kind of know they're going to already pile up on, and then they fail to cover the spread. So this is a really weird game for me to break down. Tony, what are your thoughts rolling into this matchup?
Well, let's go back to your previous game, and let's tie that in with the AFC North teaser of the week, which will be teasing the Bengals down to -0.5 and teasing Baltimore down to a pick. Winner, winner, chicken frickin' dinner right there. Because I don't see either one of these teams losing. And yeah, you might see Cincy looking ahead a little bit, especially a sandwich game between playing Buffalo on national TV at night and then, having this game on Thursday, which will be a primetime game with a hated division rival that may determine how the outcome of that division goes. That being said, let's talk about Cleveland a minute. Watson didn't look all that good. They didn't play anybody last week. They allowed, their defense, okay, they held them to 58 total yards. Now, Arizona, last I checked, I'll need to double check, and you could make a few phone calls down the local newspaper since you live down there, but they are an NFL franchise, last I checked, although they're not acting like it. That being said, again, holding a team to 58 yards is pretty impressive because they are an NFL team. Now, this game was a 25-point gap the first time they played. Baltimore blew them off the field. What did I tell you on this show 2 weeks ago? I told you Baltimore was the best team in the AFC. That's coming from a 50-year-old, 50-some-year diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan. I do not want my Chiefs playing Baltimore anytime soon because we'll get blown out of the stadium. They are firing on all cylinders. Cleveland, no matter how good their defense is, when your offense comes up against this defense, you're going to get handed a lot of 3 and outs. You're going to get worn down. I don't think Cleveland has closed the gap. Last game, there was a 25-point differential. Maybe there's a 14 to 10-point differential. I know it sounds crazy. Give me the Ravens minus a 6. I'll take them. I think this is a statement game for them. And I know they got Cincinnati on deck. And I think they want to send a message back to the state of Ohio. Hey,
like that.
Little brother just came up here. We just whooped their ass. Now it's your turn. Come on. I think that's what's going to happen here. I'll take the Ravens. I think they're playing as good a football in the NFL as anybody. You could argue Philly's playing pretty good right now, although Dallas was basically 1 inch away from possibly winning that game, at least tying it and sending it into overtime. But I think Baltimore right now should be, in my opinion, the number 1 power-rated team in the NFL. And I don't think Cleveland is in the top 10. So, 6 is a lot of points. Probably better off in a teaser with something. But I do think Baltimore could win this by a touchdown. I think there's some value under 7. You're probably going to see this at 6.5 by the weekend. Just my thoughts. I could be wrong. We haven't been wrong very much on the show. Folks, be sure and get over to Doc Sports this weekend. Sometimes it sucks to be transparent and honest. Integrity is something in this marketplace, which I've been in for 32 years, that lacks a lot of the time. I had my worst Saturday, Sunday combined at Doc Sports last week since I have been here. That would be a 2-7 weekend and missing both top plays. Was a bump in the road. It's not a whirling cesspool of doom and despair. We won over $2,100 a week before, hitting all of our top plays. So this weekend, I can assure you, if you want to catch me on the rebound, be a good weekend to do it. We're putting together the card here still on Wednesday. May have a top pick in college football. I'm going to fire right back. I'm 3-1 my last 4. So get ready for that and get ready for a, just sit back and watch. If you want to be a skeptic, that's all right. Sit back and watch. We're coming. We're coming like a house of fire this weekend, Griff. What do you got going on?
As you mentioned, transparency is key. I as well, Tony, I dropped my 8-unit play of the year, which is the hardest thing to say right now. And I had Houston last week, and I didn't have a kicker. I didn't have a kicker. And I'm not going to blame. There's no blame. The outcome of the game is always the result of the game, and that's just how it is. Would I change my pick? Absolutely not. I would not change my pick. I loved the play throughout the entire game, especially in the second half. But unfortunately, the outcome didn't go my way. Yes, I had a brutal weekend. I did drop both of my top picks as well. But as of right now, I will say on Saturdays, I have one trend going on Saturdays where I am nailing in the past 5 weeks. I'm on a 7-2 run, Saturdays alone. So for college football, I've decided I am voiding the Friday games when they're throwing out the Thursday games, which you don't see too much of, obviously, where I'm finding a lot of my mismatches for Saturday football. So I will have a full card coming out this Saturday for football, college football. I have 4 plays rolling, including my 7-unit top pick. And then on the NFL side of things, did not have a good weekend. As I mentioned, I dropped my 8-unit play. I ended up going 0-2. So I will be dropping 3 plays on the NFL side of things, probably a 5-unit, going to stay low volume, get my confidence back, get a nice win under my belt, and then start firing off again come next week. But I am really drilling on Saturday right now, so I'm coming out with a full card and expecting a huge weekend on Saturday, and obviously anticipating a huge weekend on Sunday. Tony?
Well, folks, that's it. We appreciate you tuning in. As always, leave your comments in the comment section, and we got to filter them out because of the, this is family entertainment. You can't be dropping F-bombs in the comment section, plus YouTube frowns on that as well as me and Griff. Also, the porn sites and the competitors putting links to their top picks page. So, go out and do your own homework, boys, those of you watching. And we'll answer some of your comments. We hope you're enjoying the show. About over halfway through the year now, believe it or not, and a 67% run. Let's keep the gravy train rolling. I appreciate you tuning in, folks. Be sure and get over to Docs. Come visit us. Get some winners. We got 10 other guys over there in a consensus service. So come on over to Docs. Check out all the free information as well. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.